The animal shelter buzzed with the sounds of life-seeking connection, barks echoing off concrete walls, the occasional meow cutting through the cacophony. Jack Reynolds stood at the entrance, his weathered hands fidgeting with his car keys. At 37, the former military man's face carried lines that spoke of experiences most civilians would never understand. His sister Emily's voice still rang in his ears. "Just go see, Jack. It might help." The shelter volunteer led Jack through rows of kennels, each containing eyes that followed his movement with hope. Jack nodded politely, but his mind wandered to places far away, to desert landscapes and the comrades he'd left behind. Behind the metal bars of Kennel 17 sat a German shepherd with a graying muzzle. The dog's amber eyes, once sharp and alert, now carried a dullness that mirrored Jack's own. The volunteer checked her clipboard. "Yes, that's his name. Military trained," they said. "Owner deceased, no family wanted him." Jack's throat tightened. "No, that's not right. I'm his handler. We served 3 tours together." He crouched down, extending his hand toward the kennel. "Hey buddy, it's me." Rex stared back, his gaze empty of recognition. No tail wag, no excited whine, nothing. "Sometimes they change after service," the volunteer offered gently. "Especially if they've been through trauma." Jack nodded, understanding too well. He signed the adoption papers that afternoon, ignoring the voice in his head, questioning whether this was wise. If Rex didn't remember him, was he just another stranger? Jack's modest ranch house sat on the outskirts of town, surrounded by pine trees that whispered in the breeze. As he led Rex inside, the dog moved cautiously, sniffing corners and doorways with military precision, but maintaining distance from Jack. "Home sweet home," Jack said, trying to keep his voice light. "Remember this place, boy?" Rex didn't respond, instead finding a corner of the living room where he could watch all entrances and exits. His posture remained vigilant, ears perked but not relaxed. That night, Jack prepared a space in the living room. A plush dog bed, with Rex's name embroidered on the side, stainless steel bowls filled with premium food and fresh water, and several toys carefully arranged nearby. He'd kept these things in storage, unable to part with them, after being told Rex had been reassigned following Jack's injury. Rex approached cautiously, sniffed the bed, but chose instead to lie on the hardwood floor near the front door. Days passed, in this strange dance of coexistence. Jack would talk to Rex, reminiscing about their missions, the training they'd endured together, the nights they'd spent side by side in desert tents. Rex would listen, his ears twitching occasionally, but his eyes remained guarded. At night Jack would leave his bedroom door open, and by the third night, he noticed Rex had moved from the front door to a spot just outside Jack's bedroom. A small victory that brought tears to Jack's eyes. The morning sun filtered through the blinds, casting striped shadows across the kitchen floor. Jack sipped his coffee, watching Rex through the window as the dog patrolled the fenced backyard with methodical precision. From a cedar chest in his closet, Jack retrieved his old military vest, dusty and faded, but still carrying the scent of distant lands and shared missions. He laid it on the couch and called Rex inside. The dog entered cautiously, then froze. His nostrils flared as he caught the scent of the vest. For a moment, something flickered in those amber eyes, a ghost of recognition perhaps, before disappearing behind the veil of distrust. That evening, as Jack read in his armchair, Rex approached him voluntarily for the first time. The dog stood at a respectful distance, studying Jack with intensity. Slowly, Jack extended his hand, palm up, the way he had done thousands of times before. Rex leaned forward, his wet nose touching Jack's fingertips briefly before retreating. Jack's heart soared at this small gesture of trust. "Good boy," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. The next day brought another attempt at connection. From a box labeled Rex, Jack pulled out a worn rubber ball, once bright red, now faded to a dull crimson. It had been Rex's favorite, the one toy he would seek out after every successful mission. Jack rolled it across the living room floor. Rex watched it bounce against the wall, his head tilting slightly. There was recognition there, but still hesitation. "Remember our drills?" Jack asked one morning, standing in the backyard with Rex. The dog sat at attention, watching him with curious eyes. Jack straightened his posture and issued a command in the firm, clear tone of their training days. "Rex, sit." Without hesitation, Rex's hindquarters lowered to the ground, muscle memory responding before his mind could intervene. He tossed the red ball across the yard, Rex watched it sail through the air, his body tensing with instinct. For a moment he remained frozen, caught between past and present. Then, in a burst of movement, he raced after the ball, snatched it from the grass, and, to Jack's astonishment, brought it back, dropping it at his feet. Jack knelt down, his hands trembling, as he picked up the ball. "You remember," he whispered. "Somewhere in there. You remember us." That night, a spring storm rolled in, thunder rattling the windows, and rain lashing against the roof. Jack found Rex pacing nervously, his military training at odds with his instinctual fear of storms. From his bedside drawer, Jack retrieved a small silver whistle, the special command whistle they'd used in situations where voice commands would compromise their position. He hesitated, then blew a short, sharp pattern. Rex's head snapped up, ears fully alert. He stared at Jack, recognition and confusion battling in his eyes. He took a step forward, then stopped, whining softly. "It's okay," Jack said, lowering himself to the floor. "I'm still me. You're still you?" They sat like that through the storm, not touching but closer than they had been since their reunion. As the thunder receded and dawn approached, Rex did something that broke the last of Jack's composure. He touched his nose to Jack's hand, then rested his chin on Jack's knee. Jack wept silently, his hand hovering over Rex's head before gently, so gently, stroking the fur between his ears. The morning brought clarity after the storm. Jack stood in the backyard, whistle in hand, and blew the familiar pattern. This time, Rex bounded to his side without hesitation, sitting at attention, eyes bright with recognition. Jack tossed the ball, and Rex chased after it with the enthusiasm of a much younger dog, returning it with a playful bow that Jack remembered from years ago. That evening, as Jack watched television, Rex jumped onto the couch beside him, something he'd never done before, and settled against Jack's side, his body relaxed and trusting. "Welcome back, partner," Jack whispered, his hand finding the sweet spot behind Rex's ear that always made the dog's eyes close in contentment. The weekend brought perfect weather, and Jack decided it was time. He loaded Rex into his truck and drove to Riverside Park, the place where they'd spent countless hours before their deployment, training and playing in equal measure. The park hadn't changed much. The same oak trees cast dappled shadows across the grass. The same river gurgled over smooth stones at the park's edge. Jack unclipped Rex's leash, and the dog looked up at him, waiting for permission. Rex took off, racing through the open field with the joy of rediscovered freedom. Jack followed at a slower pace, watching his old friend explore familiar territory with new eyes. They spent hours there, playing fetch with the red ball, practicing old commands that now flowed effortlessly between them, and simply enjoying each other's company in the warm sunshine. As the afternoon waned, they found a quiet spot by the river. Jack sat on a flat rock, watching the water flow past. Rex, tired from their day of play, settled beside him, then gradually shifted until his head rested on Jack's leg. Jack looked down at his companion, at the trust now fully restored in those amber eyes, and felt a completeness he'd thought lost forever. The bond between them, forged in the crucible of service and tempered by separation, had not been broken, merely forgotten for a time. "Some things," Jack said softly, his fingers gently stroking Rex's graying muzzle, "are too strong to be forgotten forever." Rex sighed contentedly, his eyes closing as the river sang its eternal song beside them. In that moment, two warriors found peace together, their shared language of loyalty and trust, speaking louder than any words could express.